This is my 2008 BMW 328i, and recently I got a service engine soon light, and I would have really bad idle, and I think it's a misfire. So I got my OBD2 scanner connected, and I go to read fault codes, and then it confirms that I got a misfire and cylinder 5. So I already changed the spark plugs on this car, so I think it's a bad ignition coil. So to replace the ignition coil, I gotta first remove the housing for the cabin air filters and also the windshield cowl. So this is just held on by 8mm bolts or 8mm screws. So I'm just gonna undo those. So the housing for the cabin air filter is held on by screws right here, 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 and then here, and one more on the other side. So with the screws removed, you can just remove the cabin air filter housing, and there's the cabin air filter. Alright, so to remove the windshield cowl, which is this whole piece right here, you gotta undo this under the hood temperature sensor. So just twist it and then it pops out, and then this is just held on by clips, so we just unclip that one, just pull up, unclip just like that. And then next we just push this rubber piece back so it's not attached anymore, like that, and then just move the hose out the way. And then this cover is held on by 2 tabs, one on the back, so you just pull up and that pops out. And then there's also one more clip in the front, you just pull up and out, and then this cover just comes off like that. And then it's gonna be the same thing on the other side. Just push back this rubber tab so it gets out the way, like that, and then unclip it from the back. And then one more in the front, and this pops out. Alright, so next we just gotta remove this piece right here. It's held on by 3 clips right here, right here, and right here. So you can just pull out and it'll unclip. So you gotta use some force, work it out. See, just like that. So it's just held on by these clips right here that connect under the windshield cowl. So next we're just gonna move this piece forward so we can unclip this hose right here. So the thing holding the hose in place is these 3 tabs right here. So it's held on by clips, you just pull out and it'll unclip. Like that. And then you want to push the thing that holds the hose in place back, and then you can pull out the hose. So this is what it looks like now. Alright, so the last thing holding the windshield cowl in place is this rubber tab right here. So you just gotta pull it back so it's not holding it in place like that. And then also there's a 8mm screw right there that we gotta remove. So it's gonna be the same thing on the other side. You remove the screw right here, and then you just pull this back and out the way like that. And then the last thing is to unclip this windshield wiper hose. So you just pull up like that. So now you can remove the whole windshield cowl piece right here. So you just pull it forward and up like that. and then the brake fluid reservoir might be in the way, so just pull up and out to work it out like that. And now this should just come off. Alright, so that's off. So we can just push back the rubber seal in place for now. So now I got to get the engine cover off. So it's held on by 3 Allen bolts. So we're just gonna take those off. Alright, so with the 3 Allen bolts removed, you can just lift up on the engine cover. This thing should just come out. Alright, so now we got the ignition coils exposed. So these are numbered from the front of the engine towards the back. So this is 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. So I have to change the ignition coil on cylinder 5. So that's right here. So I just got to move these hoses out the way. And then to disconnect the ignition coil, just lift up on this tab and then it'll push out the connector. And then you can just unplug it like that. Alright, so with the ignition coil unplugged, all I gotta do is just stick my finger right here and then just pull up. So that's out right now. And then it just comes out like this. And then the protective sleeve for the ignition coil will be coming out with it as well. Alright, so here's the old ignition coil, here's the new one. So we can just take off the protective sleeve and then put it back on the new one. Like that. Alright, so installing the new ignition coil is the same as removing it. We're just gonna slide this back in there. So now we just gotta make sure that the ignition coil is seated properly. So we're just gonna push down on it, and then you hear it click in place, so you know it's seated correctly. And now we can plug in the coil back. All right, so now we can plug the ignition coil back in. So you want to make sure that the plug is seated all the way in. Now you can just close this tab and that's it. Alright, so that's how you replace an ignition coil in a 2008 BMW. Alright, so now I just gotta reinstall everything that I took off in reverse order. So I got the ignition coil replaced. So now I'm gonna go back and connect my scanner and then clear the fault codes. Alright, so I got the ignition coil replaced, so now I'm just gonna start up the car just to make sure everything's fine. Alright, that should be good. Now we got a smooth idle, no misfiring. Alright, so I got the engine cover back in, so now we just put back this windshield cowl trim piece. So this thing will be easier if you just push the rubber seal all the way back, so it's nice and seated. So you can just install this and it'll just push right in. So I'll just try to do this with one hand. So when installing back this trim piece, you want to make sure that the rubber seal on the back is seated correctly, and then you also want to make sure that these rubber pieces on each end is out the way. So like right here, you just want to make sure it's out the way so you can install this more easily. And you also want to make sure that this is open like this on the bottom. So to install this, you just line up the dot with the line right here. If you don't have the dot on your seal, just make sure it lines up in the middle of this square. So to install this, we just lift it up a little bit and then push in, and then it'll seat in there. It's hard to do with one hand. Alright, so you'll know the trim piece is installed correctly when the holes line up on each side, and also you'll feel the trim piece seat properly on the rubber seal. So now we just gotta install the screws. So now we can push this rubber seal back under, and then this tab will pop in like that. It's gonna be the same thing on the driver's side. So you just wanna push this under. We're gonna pull this out first. So it's gonna be like this. Alright, so we got our trim piece screwed down so we can install the cover back on like that, and then we just want to make sure these are out the way right here. So you can feed this hose through this groove, and then we'll just worry about this tab later. So we can just pop this on. Alright, so that's on. So now we just push this back under here, and then line up the tab and the trim piece like that. And then now we can install this sensor back. Just clip back on there, just push down. And like this. Then it's just gonna be the same thing on the driver's side. So we just pop on. That. Alright, so now we can push this hose back in place. This. And then push these clips back on. And then this will just clip back on as well. So you want to line up all three before you push in. Alright. Alright, so the last step is just put back the cabin air filter housing. Just line everything up and then just sit. Make sure it sits right. Alright, so now I just gotta put those 6 screws back in, and that's it.